The gathering storm. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, cold and indifferent. Captain Marcus Venn stood at the bridge of the Resilience, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The ship hummed quietly, its engines purring through the void on what should have been a routine supply run to the outer colonies. "Captain," Lieutenant Jade Torres called from the navigation station, her voice cutting through his thoughts. "Sensors are picking up multiple contacts. They're closing fast." Marcus turned to face her, catching the concern in her dark eyes. Once those eyes had looked at him with warmth, with love. Now there was only professionalism, a wall built from words spoken in anger 3 months ago. Words he regretted every day since. "How many?" he asked. 15. No, 20. They're spreading into an encirclement pattern. Jade's fingers danced across her console. Signatures match Krellian Empire warships. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Krellians were notorious across the frontier, slavers and raiders who preyed on isolated vessels. Their fleets were massive, their tactics brutal. "Battle stations," Marcus ordered quietly. "Sound general quarters." Alarms echoed through the corridors as the crew scrambled to their posts. Young Ben Harrow, barely 20 and fresh from the academy, looked pale at his communications console. This would be his first real combat. Marcus walked closer to Jade's station, lowering his voice. "Jade, I need you focused." "Can you do that?" She glanced up at him, something flickering behind her professional mask. "I've always been focused, Marcus. Even when you weren't." The words stung because they were true. He had pushed her away, afraid that caring for someone would make him weak, make him hesitate when hard decisions needed to be made. Now, surrounded by enemies, he realized how foolish that fear had been. "I know," he said softly. "And I'm sorry." Before she could respond, the view screen flickered to life. An alien face appeared, reptilian features twisted into a sneer. Admiral Krell, his scales gleaming bronze under harsh lighting, his eyes cold and predatory. "Human vessel," Krell's voice rumbled through the bridge, translated into harsh, guttural tones. "You are surrounded. Power down your engines and surrender your ship. Perhaps we will allow you to serve us as slaves instead of corpses." Laughter echoed from the other alien ships, cruel and mocking. Marcus stepped forward, his face carved from stone. "This is Captain Marcus Venn of the Earth vessel Resilience. We are on a peaceful mission. Withdraw or face the consequences." Krell's laughter grew louder. "Consequences? From one small ship? Your arrogance amuses me, human. You have 1 minute to comply." The transmission cut off. Jade stood from her station, moving close enough that Marcus could smell the faint scent of her perfume. "Marcus, they have us outnumbered 20-1. "What are you thinking?" He met her eyes, and for a moment, the walls between them crumbled. "I'm thinking that if we're going to die today, I should have told you I never stopped loving you." Her breath caught. "Marcus, contact in 30 seconds, Ben Harrow interrupted, his voice shaking. Marcus touched Jade's hand briefly, a moment of connection. "Get ready to show them what humanity can do." She nodded, squeezing his fingers before returning to her station. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Echoes of the heart. The bridge lights dimmed to combat red as the alien fleet tightened its noose. Marcus watched the tactical display, each enemy ship glowing like a predator's eye in the darkness. The Resilience sat at the center, seemingly helpless. "They're moving into attack formation," Jade reported, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the air. "Weapons charged and locked on us." Ben Harrow turned in his seat, his youthful face pale. "Captain, should I send a distress signal?" "No," Marcus said quietly. "No one would reach us in time. This is our fight alone." A new transmission crackled through the speakers. This time it was not Admiral Krell, but a female voice, smooth and venomous. The view screen showed a slender alien with silver scales and piercing yellow eyes. "I am Zephyra, interrogator of the Krellian fleet," she purred. "I have studied your species, humans. You are weak, emotional creatures. You value love over survival, sentiment over strength. This makes you easy prey." Marcus felt Jade stiffen at her station. Zephyra's words were calculated to wound, to break morale before the first shot was fired. "Your captain stands before you now," Zephyra continued, pretending to be brave, but I can see the fear in his eyes. "He knows he has led you all to death. How does it feel, humans, to know your last moments are spent in the cold void, unloved and forgotten?" Ben Harrow's hands trembled on his console. Marcus could see doubt spreading through his young crew member's face. Lieutenant Torres, Marcus said, his voice cutting through the poisonous words. Tell me what you see when you look at me. Jade turned, confusion flickering across her features. Sir, that's an order, Lieutenant. What do you see? She held his gaze for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the bridge. I see a man who has made mistakes, who pushed away the people who loved him because he thought it would make him stronger. She paused. But I also see a man who learns from those mistakes, who fights for his crew with everything he has, who would die before he let anyone under his command suffer. Marcus felt something break open in his chest. 3 months of regret and loneliness flooding out. And what else? A small smile touched Jade's lips. I see the man I fell in love with. Still there, under all that armor. Ben Harrow straightened in his chair, the fear leaving his eyes. Around the bridge, the crew seemed to stand taller, their resolve hardening. Zafira's laugh was sharp. How touching. Love will not save you from plasma fire. No, Marcus agreed, stepping closer to the view screen. But it gives us something worth fighting for, something you'll never understand. He closed the channel with a sharp gesture, then turned to Jade. 3 strides brought him to her station. Without hesitation, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, deep and desperate. 3 months of longing poured into a single moment. When they broke apart, her eyes were bright. Don't you ever push me away again, Marcus Venn. Never, he promised. Captain, Ben called out, his voice no longer shaking. They're preparing to fire. Marcus returned to his command chair, but his hand found Jade's shoulder as he passed, a brief touch of connection. Chief Kamathi, are the weapon systems ready? Aye, Captain. Nora Kamathi's voice crackled over the intercom from engineering. All systems green. They won't know what hit them. Good. Marcus settled into his chair, his face becoming a mask of cold determination. Let them make the first move. Let them think they've won. The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of energy lanced through the void, hammering against the Resilience's shields. The ship shuddered but held. Admiral Krell's voice boomed over the comms. Surrender now, or we will tear you apart piece by piece. Marcus leaned forward, his voice soft and deadly. You should have listened when I gave you the chance to leave. The fire awakens. The Resilience shook under another volley, alarm screaming as shields flickered from the impact. Sparks showered from a damaged console, and the acrid smell of burning circuits filled the bridge. Shields at 70%, Jade called out, her fingers flying across the tactical display. They're concentrating fire on our port side. Marcus gripped the arms of his command chair, watching the alien fleet swarm like predators circling wounded prey. 20 ships against 1. The Krellians had every reason to be confident. They had no idea what was coming. Chief Kamathi. Marcus spoke calmly into his comlink. Initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization Ven Gamma 7. From deep in the ship's belly, Nora's voice carried a fierce grin. About damn time, Captain. Bring hell in 5, 4, 3. The Resilience transformed. Panels slid open along the hull, revealing weapons that no civilian vessel should possess. Railgun batteries emerged from hidden bays, their barrels gleaming. Drone launch tubes opened like the eyes of a waking predator. Energy capacitors hummed to life, building to a devastating crescendo. 2, 1. Weapons free! The first railgun round crossed the void faster than thought. It struck a Krellian cruiser dead center, punching through shields and armor like they were paper. The ship exploded in a brilliant flower of fire and debris. Silence fell across the enemy fleet for a single shocked heartbeat. Then chaos erupted. All batteries, fire at will, Marcus commanded. Jade, target their command ships. Ben, broadcast our attack pattern to all weapon stations. The Resilience became a storm of destruction. Railguns thundered, each shot finding its mark with precision. Dozens of combat drones launched, sleek and deadly, swarming through the alien formation. Energy cannons carved burning lines across the darkness, slicing through enemy hulls. Admiral Krell's face appeared on the view screen, his confident sneer replaced by shock. What is this? What are you? We're humanity, Marcus said coldly. And you just made a fatal mistake. 2 more Krellian ships burst into flames as the drones tore into their engine cores. A heavy destroyer tried to flank the Resilience, but Jade anticipated the move. A precisely aimed energy beam cut it in half before it could complete its maneuver. Target destroyed, she reported, her voice filled with fierce satisfaction. Marcus stood, moving to stand beside her station. His hand found the small of her back, a touch that grounded them both amid the violence. "You're magnificent," he murmured. She glanced up at him, eyes blazing. "Tell me that again when we survive this. I'll tell you every day for the rest of our lives." Another explosion lit up the view screen as 3 more Krellian ships fell to the drone swarms. The enemy formation was breaking apart, their disciplined attack dissolving into panic. Ben Harrow's voice carried across the bridge, strong and clear now. "Intercepting enemy communications, Captain." "They're calling for retreat." "Denied," Marcus said. "Jade, block their escape vectors." "Nora, give me everything the energy cannons have." The ship shuddered as the main cannons fired, twin beams of pure destruction that lanced through the heart of the Krellian formation. The Admiral's flagship rocked under the impact, shields collapsing, armor buckling. Krell's face twisted in rage and fear. "This is impossible!" "One ship cannot." "Watch us," Marcus interrupted. The drones swarmed the flagship, cutting through its weapons arrays, leaving it defenseless. Another railgun volley smashed into its bridge, and Admiral Krell's transmission cut off in a burst of static. The bridge crew watched in grim silence as the flagship broke apart, flames consuming it from within. 12 enemy vessels destroyed, Jade reported quietly. 8 retreating. They're broadcasting surrender requests. Marcus looked at the carnage on the display, at the burning wrecks that had been ships full of living beings moments ago. He felt no joy in the destruction, only cold necessity. He turned to Jade, pulling her up from her station into his arms. For a moment, they simply held each other, feeling the warmth of life, the pulse of survival. "I thought I'd lost you," she whispered against his chest. "Never again," he promised, tilting her face up to kiss her softly. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Around them, the crew tried to look away, to give them privacy, but small smiles touched their faces. "Captain," Ben said hesitantly, "what about the survivors?" Marcus reluctantly released Jade, though his hand stayed linked with hers. "Let them go. Let them spread the word of what happened here." Storm and steel. The moment of peace shattered as new alarms screamed across the bridge. "Contacts!" Jade shouted, pulling away from Marcus to sprint back to her station. Multiple hyperspace signatures. Big ones. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. "How many?" 30, 35. Still increasing. Her voice tightened. "It's a second fleet, Captain. They must have been nearby when the first attack started." Ben's face went pale again. "Sir, the lead ship is broadcasting. It's a dreadnought-class vessel." The view screen flickered to life, showing a massive alien who made Admiral Krell look small. His scales were battle-scarred, his eyes burning with cold intelligence. "This was War Master Gregson, legendary commander of the Krellian Empire's most feared battle group. Human vessel." Gregson's voice rumbled like thunder. "I have seen what you did to Admiral Krell's fleet. Impressive. But I am not Krell. My ships are not his untested rabble. You fought well, but your luck has ended." Nora's voice crackled over the intercom, strain evident. "Captain, we're at 40% weapons capacity. Shields are down to 30. We took too much damage in the first fight. We're not ready for this." Marcus looked at his crew, saw the exhaustion in their faces, the fear creeping back in. They had given everything in the first battle. Now they were wounded, depleted, facing an even larger force. Jade met his eyes across the bridge. In hers, he saw determination mixed with desperation. They both knew the odds. "Marcus," she said softly, using his name instead of his rank. "Whatever happens, I'm glad we had this time." He wanted to go to her, to hold her one more time, but duty kept him in his command chair. "It's not over yet. Nora, how long until weapons are back to full capacity?" 10 minutes minimum, Captain. Then we buy 10 minutes. He opened a channel to Gregson. "War Master, your reputation precedes you. I would speak with you before we continue this dance." Gregson's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Speak quickly, human. My patience is limited. You saw what happened to Krell's fleet. 20 ships destroyed or scattered by one vessel. Doesn't that give you pause? It tells me you have hidden weapons and that you use them well. But weapons need energy, ammunition, time to recharge. You are wounded, depleted. I will not make Krell's mistakes." Marcus nodded slowly. "True, but consider this. We are one ship on a supply run, carrying civilian goods to a colony. If one unarmed supply vessel can destroy a fleet, what do you think our warships can do?" The question hung in the void between them. Marcus could see doubt flicker across Grexon's scarred face. "You're bluffing," the War Master said, but his voice carried less certainty. "Am I? Tell me, War Master, have you ever heard of a human supply ship traveling without escort? Have you ever known us to be unprepared?" Marcus leaned forward, his voice dropping to something darker. "Or did you think we survived and conquered our own hostile world by being weak?" Gregson said nothing, his expression hardening. Behind Marcus, Jade worked frantically at her console. On a private channel, she whispered, "6 minutes, Marcus. Keep him talking. You destroyed Krell because he was arrogant," Gregson finally said. "But I am not. My fleet will tear you apart, hidden weapons or not. However," he paused, calculating, "I will offer you one chance. Surrender now. You and your crew will become prisoners, not slaves. You have fought with honor. I will grant you that much." "Generous," Marcus said dryly. "But here's my counter-offer. Leave now, and you live to see another day. Stay, and you'll share Krell's fate." Gregson's laugh was harsh. "You have courage, human." "Foolish courage. Very well. If you will not surrender, then you will die with honor." The transmission cut off. 4 minutes, Jade said urgently. Marcus stood, moving to her station. He pulled her up into his arms, kissing her deeply, desperately, as if it might be their last chance. "I love you, Jade Torres," he said against her lips. "I should have said it every day. I should never have let you go." Tears gleamed in her eyes. "I love you too, you stubborn fool." The enemy fleet began its approach, a wall of steel and fire moving inexorably closer. 2 minutes, Nora's voice announced. "All hands." Marcus spoke into the ship-wide comms, still holding Jade. "Prepare for everything we have. If we're going down, we're taking them with us." The legend-born the Krellian dreadnought led the charge, its massive form blotting out the stars. Behind it, 34 warships advanced in perfect formation, weapons glowing with deadly promise. 1 minute. Nora counted down. Marcus released Jade reluctantly, both of them taking their positions. His hand hovered over the command console, ready to give the order that might be their last. 30 seconds. The bridge was silent except for the hum of struggling systems and the ragged breathing of the crew. Ben Harrow's hands were steady now, no longer shaking. They had all accepted what might come. 10 seconds. Gregson's fleet opened fire. The void lit up with plasma beams and missile trails, a hurricane of destruction converging on the Resilience. Weapons at full capacity. Nora shouted, "All systems green." "Fire everything!" Marcus roared. The Resilience erupted like a star-going nova. Every weapon fired at once. A devastating barrage that caught the Krellian fleet in mid-attack. Railgun rounds tore through shields that weren't quite positioned right. Energy beams carved through hulls that had committed to their attack run and couldn't evade. The drones launched in a massive swarm, twice as many as before. They dove into the enemy formation like metal hornets, seeking out weak points, exploiting gaps, turning the Krellians' numerical advantage into a liability. As ships collided trying to avoid the nimble attackers, 3 enemy cruisers exploded in the first 5 seconds. Gregson's voice boomed over the comms. "Impossible. All ships, evasive maneuvers! Reform the line!" But it was too late. The Resilience had caught them off guard, punished their overconfidence. What should have been an overwhelming assault had turned into chaos. "Target the dreadnought," Marcus ordered. "Concentrate all fire." Jade's fingers danced across her console, directing the ship's fury at Gregson's flagship. Railguns hammered at its massive shields while drones swarmed its weapon batteries. The dreadnought was powerful, heavily armored, but even it couldn't withstand the focused assault. Its shields flickered and failed. "Main cannon." "Full power," Marcus said quietly. The Resilience shuddered as its primary energy weapon discharged, a beam of pure destruction that burned across the void. It struck the dreadnought's bridge, punching through armor, through bulkheads, through the heart of the ship. For a moment, Gregson's face appeared on the view screen, shock and disbelief frozen in his features. Then the transmission died as his flagship broke apart. The Krellian fleet scattered. Ships peeled away in all directions, abandoning formation, abandoning their dead, thinking only of escape. Voices screamed across their communication channels, broadcasting fear to anyone who would listen. "They cannot be stopped. One ship destroyed 2 fleets. Humanity is not prey. They are death itself." Marcus stood, moving to Jade's station. "Let them go." She looked up at him, exhaustion and relief warring in her expression. "It's over?" It's over. The bridge erupted in cheers, the crew embracing, laughing, crying. They had faced impossible odds twice and survived. More than survived, they had won. Marcus pulled Jade into his arms, kissing her as the stars wheeled around them. The tactical display showed the enemy fleet fleeing in disarray, leaving behind only wreckage and the legend of a single human ship that had stood against an empire. "I meant what I said," Marcus whispered. "Every day for the rest of our lives." Jade smiled against his lips. "I'm going to hold you to that, Captain." Nora's voice came over the intercom, warm with triumph. "Engineering to bridge. All systems stable. We're battered, but we'll fly." "Where to, Captain?" Marcus looked at the stars, at his crew, at the woman in his arms. "Set course for the colonies. We have a delivery to make." Ben Harrow turned in his seat, grinning. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from across the sector. Everyone wants to know what happened here." "Tell them," Marcus said quietly. "Tell them exactly what happened. Tell them that humanity does not break. That when we're pushed, we push back harder. That we fight for each other, for love, for survival." He held Jade closer. "Tell them that if they come for us with arrogance, they'll meet us with steel." The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. In alien command centers, leaders watched the recordings with growing dread. The images of 2 fleets destroyed by a single ship. The recordings of Krellian survivors babbling about humanity's hidden strength. Fear took root in alien hearts. Months later, in the council chambers of a dozen empires, the same question was asked. If one supply ship can do this, what could a human battle fleet accomplish? No one had an answer. And in the outer colonies, the Resilience docked with gentle precision. Marcus and Jade stood together at the viewport, watching the station approach, their hands intertwined. "They'll come again," Jade said softly. "Eventually the fear will fade and they'll come again." "I know," Marcus agreed. "But when they do, we'll be ready." "All of us. Together." She leaned her head against his shoulder. Together. Behind them, the crew worked in comfortable silence, repairing damage, restoring systems, preparing for the next journey. They had been ordinary people on an ordinary ship, thrust into extraordinary circumstances. They had become legends, and across the stars, in the dark places between worlds, the story was told and retold. The story of the Resilience. The story of humanity's refusal to bow. The story of a captain who found his courage in love, and a crew who turned survival into victory. The aliens had thought it would be easy. They had learned the price of arrogance, and they would never forget.